Cyrus the Great, founder of the Achaemenid Persian Empire in the 6th century BC, built one of history's largest realms by conquering the Median, Lydian and Neo-Babylonian lands, but he met a brutal end. After expanding his empire, Cyrus turned his campaign toward the Massagetae, a nomadic confederation in Central Asia led by Queen Tomiris. He first sought to marry her to gain control of her lands, but when she refused, he invaded. Tomiris challenged him to open battle, yet Cyrus used a trap, leaving a decoy camp with wine and food. When the Massagetae seized it and feasted, the Persians ambushed them, killing a third of their army, including Tomiris' son. Enraged, Tomiris vowed revenge and led her forces in a second battle that crushed the Persians. Tomiris then decapitated Cyrus and put his head in a wineskin filled with blood. Xenophon of Athens, however, stated Cyrus died peacefully at his capital. Alexander the Great built an empire stretching from Greece to Egypt, Persia and India. After defeating the Achaemenid Empire, he ruled much of the known world, but his life ended in agony at just 32. In May 323 BC, Alexander attended a drinking party hosted by his companion Medius of Larissa. But soon after the banquet, Alexander developed a severe fever. By early June, he could no longer stand or speak and died in the royal palace of Babylon. The exact cause remains unclear. Some suggest malaria, typhoid or pneumonia. His years of battle injuries, exhaustion, heavy drinking and grief over the death of his closest friend, Hephaestion, may have weakened him further. A later rumor accused Antipater, a Macedonian regent, of orchestrating Alexander's poisoning through his son Iolaus, who allegedly slipped poison into the king's wine. Chandragupta Maurya unified much of the Indian subcontinent, defeating the Nanda Empire and repelling Greek Seleucid forces after Alexander's death. He established the Maurya Empire, covering modern India, Pakistan and parts of Afghanistan, spanning over 5 million square kilometers. Around 297 BC, Chandragupta abdicated the throne, became a Jain monk, and died of voluntary starvation in a cave in present-day Karnataka, India. Napoleon Bonaparte was a French general who conquered most of continental Europe, from Austria and Prussia to Spain, Italy and parts of Russia, Poland and even Egypt. As his empire grew, so did signs of physical and mental strain. He suffered persistent stomach pain, violent outbursts and increasing confusion. Some suggest he may have contracted syphilis during his early years, which could have worsened his health over time. Following his final defeat at Waterloo, Napoleon was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena. By 1817, his condition had begun to deteriorate sharply. Isolated and paranoid about being poisoned, he refused food or drink unless tested in front of him and constantly rotated his kitchen staff. The island's poor diet, spoiled meat and unclean water combined with harsh medical treatments like leeches and mercury laxatives left him in constant agony. By early 1821, Napoleon was bedridden, suffering from bleeding ulcers, swelling and vomiting blood. He died on May 5, 1821 at the age of 51. Modern research suggests he most likely died of stomach cancer worsened by tuberculosis. Adolf Hitler, the dictator of Nazi Germany, expanded the Third Reich to nearly 1.5 million square miles across Europe and North Africa before it collapsed under the Allied advance. By 1945, Soviet forces were closing in from the east, the Western Allies from the west, and Germany lay in ruins, yet Hitler refused to surrender. On April 20th, 1945, on his birthday, he made a final appearance above ground at the Reichschancellery Garden to award medals to Hitler Youth soldiers, his last few of daylight. As defeat loomed, he and his inner circle retreated to the Führerbunker, a network of rooms 50 feet underground, where he spent 105 days clinging to delusional hopes of counterattacks in the Ardennes. Determined to avoid Mussolini's grim fate, Hitler took his own life on April 30th, 1945, using a gun and cyanide. His body was found the next day on a couch in the bunker next to his now wife Eva Braun, alongside his dead dog Blondie. Genghis Khan, founder of the Mongol Empire, created the largest contiguous empire in history by uniting the Mongol tribes and conquering vast territories across China and Central Asia. His final campaign began when the Tangut Empire, which had previously pledged loyalty, refused to provide troops for his Middle Eastern wars. Determined to punish them, Genghis launched a new invasion. During the harsh winter of 1226, while crossing the Gobi Desert, he fell from his horse while hunting wild kulans, suffering a serious leg injury that weakened him. Despite his worsening condition, he continued the campaign, defeating the Tangut before dying in August 1227. His death cause remains uncertain. Some chronicles say he succumbed to malaria, typhus, or plague. Others claim he was wounded by an arrow in battle or even struck by lightning. Later legends tell of a captured Tangut princess fatally wounding his genitals during the act. His wife concealed his death until the Tangut were annihilated, fulfilling his final command that no member of their royal family line should survive. Attila, the Scourge of God, ruled the Huns and led brutal campaigns across much of Europe, invading lands that now include Hungary, Greece, Italy, and Spain, and even attempting to conquer Roman Gaul in modern France, while controlling big chunks of Central Asia and Eastern Europe. He was feared by the Western and Eastern Roman empires. After Emperor Mercian of the Eastern Roman Empire stopped paying tribute, Attila retreated from Italy to his palace beyond the Danube, preparing for another strike on Constantinople. But before he could strike, he died suddenly in early 453. According to the historian Priscus, Attila's death came during a wedding feast celebrating his marriage to a bride named Ildiko. After a night of heavy drinking, he reportedly suffered a massive nosebleed, likely from a brain hemorrhage or internal bleeding, and choked to death in his sleep. Some accounts suggest the bleeding resulted from ruptured veins linked to long-term alcohol use. A later version claimed that Ildiko killed Attila on their wedding night. Julius Caesar expanded Rome's power across Gaul, Britain, Egypt, and the Mediterranean, laying the foundation for the Roman Empire. After defeating his rivals in a long civil war, he became the most powerful man in Rome, which led to his brutal downfall. In March 44 BC, Caesar entered the Senate, despite multiple warnings about a plot against him. As he took his seat, one of his conspirators approached under the guise of presenting a petition. Grabbing Caesar's toga, Publius Servilius Casca struck the first blow with a dagger. Many senators joined in, including Brutus, whom Caesar had trusted deeply. Surrounded and unable to escape, Caesar was stabbed 23 times, and only one wound proved fatal. Francisco Pizarro, the Spanish conquistador who overthrew the Inca Empire and claimed vast South American lands for Spain, established Lima as his seat of power after a brutal campaign that left over 150,000 Incas dead and their emperor Atahualpa executed. By 1541, rivalries among the conquistadors had reached a boiling point, especially with the followers of Diego de Almagro II. On June 26, 1541, a group of about 20 armed men loyal to Almagro stormed Pizarro's palace in Lima. Most of his guests fled, leaving only a handful of defenders. Despite being nearly unarmed and caught off guard, Pizarro fought fiercely, taking out 3 attackers before he was overwhelmed. Exhausted and bleeding from multiple stab wounds to his neck, head, and hands, he was finally struck fatally in the throat. Ivan the Terrible, the first Tsar of all Russia, transformed Russia from a medieval state into a rising empire. He expanded its territory by conquering Kazan, Astrakhan, and parts of Siberia, while ruling with extreme cruelty. Ivan was responsible for the Novgorod massacre, gouged out the eyes of St. Basil's Cathedral's architects to prevent them from building anything better for anyone else. He buried people alive, boiled them in oil, or even sewed an archbishop into a bearskin to be hunted and eaten by dogs. Despite his brutal reputation, Ivan died from a stroke while playing chess in 1584. William the Conqueror, a descendant of the Viking Rollo and Duke of Normandy, became King of England after defeating Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. His victory established Norman rule and permanently reshaped English history. In his later years, William waged war against French King Philip I, who had mocked him for his weight and age. Determined to prove his strength, William invaded French territory and burned the town of Mantes. During the campaign, while riding through the burning ruins, his horse stumbled, and the pommel of his saddle struck his abdomen, causing a bad internal injury, likely a rupture of his intestines or bladder. He was carried to the priory in Rouen, where he lingered in agony for several weeks. Despite the efforts of his physicians, nothing could be done, and William died in September 1087. Oda Nobunaga unified half of Japan via ruthless military campaigns, becoming the most powerful warlord and de facto ruler by 1582. After defeating the Takeda clan at the Battle of Tenmokuzan, he prepared new invasions. When his general Hideyoshi requested reinforcements during the siege of Takamatsu Castle, Nobunaga ordered Akechi Mitsuhide to mobilize their armies and planned to lead the expedition himself. While Nobunaga stayed at Honnoji Temple in Kyoto with only a small guard of 30 men, Mitsuhide betrayed him for reasons that remain unclear. Pretending to follow orders, Mitsuhide turned his troops toward Kyoto and suddenly surrounded Honnoji Temple before dawn on June 21, 1582. Caught off guard and heavily outnumbered, Nobunaga fought briefly but was soon overwhelmed. Realizing there was no escape, he retreated to an inner room, set it on fire and committed seppuku. His son Nobutada met the same fate. Mehmed the Conqueror captured Constantinople, ending the Byzantine Empire, and expanded the Ottoman Empire across Anatolia, the Balkans and southeast Europe. His campaigns solidified Ottoman control over Asia Minor and established him as a hero in modern Turkey and parts of the Muslim world. In 1481, while leading the army at Maltepe near Istanbul to begin new campaigns against Rhodes, southern Italy and potentially the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt, Mehmed suddenly fell ill and died on May 3rd at the age of 49. Some historians suggest he may have been poisoned, possibly by his physician, or at the behest of his eldest son and successor Bayezid, leading to a painful death. Timur, or Tamerlane, was a Turco-Mongol conqueror who built the Timurid Empire across Central Asia, Iran and Afghanistan. He defeated the Golden Horde, the Mamluks, the Ottomans and the Delhi Sultanate, becoming the dominant ruler of the Muslim world. Known as a brilliant strategist and a ruthless destroyer, Timur never lost a battle. In the winter of 1405, already in his 70s, Timur set out from Samarkand with a vast army of 200,000 men to invade China, slowly marching across ice-cold, snow-covered lands and frozen rivers. At Otra, in present-day Kazakhstan, he caught a severe cold that worsened into a fever. His physicians tried desperate remedies, even packing him in ice, but nothing helped. Timur died in February 1405. His descendant Babur would later found the Mughal Empire in India. Charlemagne, king of the Franks and Lombards and later emperor of the Carolingian Empire, united much of Western Europe and spread Christianity across modern France, Germany, the Low Countries, Switzerland and parts of Austria and Spain. By the year 800, he stood as the most powerful ruler in the West. But in the autumn of 813, Charlemagne's health began to decline. Suffering from gout and osteoarthritis, he withdrew from public life to pray, fast and read the Gospel. His condition worsened when he developed pleurisy, an inflammation of the chest. After a week confined to bed, he died in January 814 in Aachen. Qin Shi Huang, the founder of the Qin dynasty and China's first emperor, unified the warring states into one empire through relentless conquest and laid the foundations of imperial China. In 211 BC, a meteor reportedly fell in Dongjun, and someone inscribed on a stone something like, "The first emperor will die and his land will be divided." When no one admitted responsibility, those living nearby were executed, and the stone was destroyed. The following year, Huang fell gravely ill while traveling eastern China and died in 210 BC at the age of 49. The precise cause of death is unknown, but ancient sources suggest he had taken mercury-laced elixirs in his quest for immortality, which may have poisoned him. Shaka Zulu, king of the Zulu kingdom, unified dozens of tribes through conquest and transformed a small clan of fewer than 1,500 people into a dominant power across much of modern KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. His strict discipline, age-based regiments, and introduction of the short stabbing spear revolutionized warfare and reshaped Southern Africa's political landscape. In 1828, Shaka was assassinated by his half-brothers Dingane and Mlangana, who stabbed him after growing resentful of his grief-driven purges that followed their mother Nandi's death. Saladin, the Kurdish commander who founded the Ayyubid dynasty, became the first Sultan of Egypt and Syria and united much of the Muslim world under his leadership. He expanded his dominion to include Yemen, Hejaz, and parts of Mesopotamia, and is best remembered for recapturing Jerusalem in 1187, which triggered the Third Crusade against him. His long standoff with Richard the Lionheart ended without a clear victor. In 1193, at the height of his power, Saladin fell ill with a severe fever in Damascus. Despite attempts by his physician to treat him with bloodletting and enemas, he died of typhoid at around 56 years old. Ashoka the Great, the third ruler of the Mauryan dynasty, conquered much of modern India, Pakistan, Nepal, and Afghanistan. He is often remembered for converting to Buddhism after the Kalinga War and embracing non-violence. Ashoka died of natural causes in 232 BC, likely of old age. Darius the Great, the third king of the Persian Empire, expanded his dominion to its greatest size, stretching from the Indus Valley to Egypt, the Balkans, and North Africa. After learning of Persia's defeat at the Battle of Marathon, Darius began preparing a massive new invasion of Greece that he planned to lead himself. However, a revolt in Egypt broke out, straining both his empire and his health. Weakened and unable to continue the war effort, Darius died in 486 BC after suffering for about a month from an unidentified illness at 64 years old. Suleiman the Magnificent, the longest reigning Ottoman Sultan, expanded the empire across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, ruling over more than 25 million people. His campaigns brought Belgrade and Rhodes under Ottoman control and crushed Hungary at Mohacs in 1526, while his wars against the Safavid Empire secured Mesopotamia. Under his leadership, the Ottoman navy dominated the Mediterranean, Red Sea, and Persian Gulf. In 1566, while leading his troops in Hungary at the age of 71, Suleiman died in his tent, likely from natural causes such as heart failure or a stroke. His death was kept secret until the army's safe return. His body was taken back to Istanbul for burial, while his heart and liver were buried near the site of his final campaign. Sonni Ali, the 15th ruler of the Sonni dynasty, transformed the Songhai Empire into the largest in African history through relentless conquest. He captured Timbuktu, Djenné, and much of the Niger River Valley, ruling through warfare and expansion rather than inheritance. His reign marked the peak of Songhai's territorial power. He died on November 6, 1492, under unclear circumstances. Some sources say he drowned while crossing the Niger River, while others claim he was killed by his nephew Askia Mohammed Touré. After his death, his son Sunni Baru briefly succeeded him before being overthrown by Askia, who seized power soon after. Pachacuti, founder of the Inca Empire, transformed a small Cusco-based kingdom into a vast Andean empire, spanning modern Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, and parts of Chile, Argentina, and Colombia, covering over 2 million square kilometers. His conquests set the foundation for further Inca expansion, which within 3 generations extended control across much of Western South America. Machu Picchu is widely believed to have been built as his estate. Pachacuti died of natural causes around 1471 in Cusco, likely in his 50s. Thutmose III, often called Egypt's Napoleon, was a pharaoh who expanded Egypt's power through 18 undefeated military campaigns across Nubia, Syria, Palestine, and Mesopotamia. Renowned as one of history's greatest commanders and strategists, he brought Egypt to the height of its imperial strength and is credited with creating the world's first organized navy. Maintaining all of his conquests, Thutmose III died of natural causes around 1425 BC. Sargon of Akkad was the first ruler of the Akkadian Empire, uniting the Sumerian city-states in the 24th to 23rd centuries BC, creating one of the world's earliest empires. His domain stretched across most of Mesopotamia and extended into parts of the Levant, as well as Hurrian and Elam lands. According to the Sumerian king list, Sargon ruled for 56 years and died peacefully of natural causes around 2279 BC. Kamehameha the Great, the first ruler of the Kingdom of Hawaii, unified the Hawaiian Islands through a combination of warfare and diplomacy. Armed with Western weapons and ships, he challenged the most powerful chiefs across the islands. His campaigns were marked by deadly setbacks, including disease outbreaks and storms, which constantly delayed his conquest of Kauai for 15 years. Ultimately, the king of Kauai, Sonni Ali, submitted, making his island a vassal state. After about 1812, Kamehameha retired to Kamakahonu, where he spent his remaining years. He died in 1819 and his body was hidden by trusted friends. His final resting place remains unknown.